You do it laying down on your back, and you have this incredible experience of energy pulsing through your system, like vibrations and tingling sensations. It's very physical. And you feel kind of legally high when you're done. You have all this amazing endorphins going through your system, and serotonin and dopamine, and it's clearing out a lot of stuck emotions out of your body as well. They give you a sense of like calm and moving more into like the present moment.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Welcome to The Exploding Human. I'm Bob Nickman, and today's guest is Marlize Joubert, who you heard at the beginning there, and we're going to be talking about breathwork. More about that in a second. First, I want to invite you to check out my website, theexplodinghuman.com. All my episodes are there, synopses of the episodes, photos of my guests, a little bio on myself, links to social media, and a donate button. So if you want to support the show, I'm not going to say no. Thanks very much for that. And also, if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is free, of course, that is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Add the with Bob Nickman so you can find that on YouTube. And I appreciate any support that you want to give to the show. Thanks so much. And I am so happy to interview Marlize Joubert, who has been teaching breath work for, a decade now. We talk about how she got started and some of her work with yoga. And we talk a lot about energy. And I don't want to get into it now because we're going to get into it in the interview. So please enjoy this interview. This is Marlize Joubert.
It's so great to see you as well. Very excited for this.
Yes, this is my second interview with somebody that does breath work, and we both know the first person, who is John Paul Crimi, who got me into breath work, and I interviewed him, and then I started doing breath work. So I've been doing it almost 2 years now. So I have personal experience, but I know that your approach is slightly different. And why don't we explain to the listeners exactly what it is? Because a lot of people, hear the word and it's sort of floating around the culture, but people don't quite understand exactly what it is and what's happening with it.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you have experienced breathwork for yourself as well. I feel like we can talk about it so much, but at the end of the day, having an experience give you a greater understanding of what it actually is. The experience is so much greater than the mind. But saying that, so when we breathe consciously, breath turns into energy. And I believe that everything is made up of energy. And even the stuck emotions and the false beliefs that we carry, that's sitting in the subconscious. And so when we take a conscious breath in and the breath turns into energy, it begins to move into the body and it begins to push out all the stagnant and stuck emotions and things that are energy out of the body. So it's a practice that you do consciously for about 20, maybe 30 minutes. You can do it for 10 minutes as well if you want, with some really fun music in the background. You do it laying down on your back, and you have this incredible experience of energy pulsing through your system, like vibrations and tingling sensations. It's very physical, and you feel kind of legally high when you're done. You have all this amazing endorphins going through your system, and serotonin and dopamine, and it's clearing out a lot of stuck emotions out of your body as well. They give you a sense of like calm and moving more into like the present moment. So
yeah, that's accurate description, and really from my experience. Yeah, but you know what it is? It's like it's a calmness mixed with a clarity and of energy is how it feels to me. There's a certain clarity in the calmness, which is kind of hard to explain to somebody that hasn't had the experience.
Yeah, and the reason that I can explain that, maybe so it can kind of make a little bit more sense, is that we receive information from lots of different places, like through our body, through intuition, through our mind, through our ego mind, and from like past wounds and things like that. And sometimes we receive information and we don't always know if that's like information from our heart. Is that information from our mind? Is that like a false belief? And so it creates confusion. It's almost like the mind and the head starts to kind of fight with each other, and you don't really know who said what. And so through the breathwork practice, the energy begins to move away from the mind and into the body. And when it moves into the body, there's a sense of clarity, because the mind is amazing, but it also creates all these elaborate stories that's not always true. And so when we drop down into the body and have this like physical experience, the mind naturally begins to quiet down.
I love the idea of shutting off my mind, and I think that's what meditation's all about, and all the different forms to know that that is a valuable tool for getting things done, survival skills, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't really serve us in a lot of other ways. Particularly, I'm always very intrigued by when you said false beliefs.
Mm.
I made a list of my false beliefs many years ago, and I'm sure I have new ones.
That's amazing.
Let's not get into them right this second. But there are some common false beliefs that I think a lot of people have. Sometimes it's about the way they look, or the way they're perceived by other people, or the way here's a really common one: money is evil. A lot of people have that one.
Yeah.
If somebody's got money, they must be a bad person, because I don't have it. So, and I'm nice and I want what they have. So they must be, they must be an asshole because
yeah. And so then what we do is we push the money away and the prosperity and abundance, right? And we don't do this consciously too. Talking about a false belief. So we create these beliefs when we're little. So imagine at the age of like 4, you're in an environment when, say, there's like a lot of like verbal abuse or something on the outside. And through that experience of the age of 4, your little mind, little heart creates a belief system. Mm-hmm. And that belief system is not always true, but it can say something like, wow, it's not safe for me to be seen. I'm going to get killed. It's not safe for me to express myself. And then what happens is during our life, we listen to those false beliefs, but all the time. They say 90% of the time, but we do it unconsciously. So we're not even aware of the fact that we listen to it. And then we don't understand, well, we keep attracting these really interesting experiences into our life. So we will attract experiences like, for instance, giving you this example of like, I might attract like people that are verbally abusive to me, and I have absolutely no idea. But what's happening is when those experiences coming into our life, it activates those old wounds from the age of 4 so that they can come up and clear out. And so if you can look at it from that perspective, it's like we're not a victim to our circumstances. It's almost like, yay, this person in front of me is activating this old wound so I can bring it up and clear it out. So breath work speeds up that evolution. So when you practice breath work, it just pulls it out of your body much faster. So you get to start listening to your heart's vibration and what's true. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I noticed when I first started doing it, I had much more emotional release because I had a lot of years of stuff, and I don't.
As we all do.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember being in a couple of the classes, and you'd hear some people crying, and I don't know if you do this, but in John Paul's class and in his tapes that I listen to, he does a scream.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's like an energy discharge, and then he also does a laughter, and with that, and then he's I'm sure I know you've studied with some of the same people. that what happens is the breath goes deeper after that because you're releasing this like tight, I just call it tight energy. It's just like pent up kind of stuff. So I love the screaming part. It's not like long, it's just, you're just discharging. Super helpful in the work.
Absolutely. I remember when I landed at my teacher's circles as well in the beginning, I was really shy and it was really hard for me to like even express myself in front of like a bunch of people. And he literally had me stand up in front of like 72 people and said, "Hey," he let out a big yell. It was so freaking hard. I did it. And then he's like, "Is that all you got? Like, do it again." How the yells work is it helps to clear any resistance to feeling. So obviously the stuff that we carry under the surface is the stuff we don't really want to feel. That's why we push it back and push it down and push it away. So what the yells are doing, it literally breaks through the resistance to feeling. So a lot of the times you will let out a big, crazy, loud yell, and all of a sudden you have all the tears flooding out afterwards, or the joy or the realizations and stuff like that. And then the laughing is usually when you're kind of stuck in like a very serious, sometimes healing for some people can be super serious as well, so we can kind of do breath work and get stuck in a sadness or stuck in a story or stuck in that false belief for too long, and so the laugh comes through to kind of break through that and just be like, let's just have some fun with it.
Aside from what it does energetically, it gives people in that setting permission to do things that they wouldn't do, which is yell. I mean, I think a lot of people feel like screaming in the middle of the day when something happens, but it's inappropriate socially.
Apparently so. Well, we're changing that rule for sure.
But you can go home and do it.
What I've actually been doing is after that first two big yells that my teachers forced me to let out in front of a bunch of people, it's for a whole month, I would just let out yells. And if my neighbors were too close, I would literally get in my car and get in the freeway and just start yelling in my car because there's like nobody around. It's permission, right? It's permission to be a little crazy, to express ourselves, even if it feels wrong, even if it feels like we might gonna get judged. It's that permission to be ourselves no matter what.
Yeah, I when I do the breath work, I have a pillow next to me.
That's awesome.
Very thick pillow. And when it's time to yell,
soundproof.
I soundproof myself. And I don't want my neighbors to think I'm being murdered or something. So I'm like,
My neighbors are kind of getting used to it too, because I have a bunch of clients come in like a regular basis. So they're like, whatever, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's I think they might think it's kind of interesting too. Like, what's he doing over there? Every day about 8 a.m, he sounds like
you must have some anger issues.
I like him, but something's wrong with him. Now, here's an interesting phenomenon that happens when I finish the actual deep, the breathing. And then you start to, instead of breathing through your mouth, you breathe through your nose and kind of go into a meditative state. What I've noticed is, what I first noticed is the parts of my body that are tight, usually the jaw for me. And I try to relax those places. I start at my feet and I kind of work my way up and relax each place as I'm breathing. But then what I've noticed is I will have these involuntary, I don't know what the right word is, spasms,
like a twitch or something.
Like a twitch, or like a discharging of energy. A lot of times it's in my stomach area where it'll just kind of like, I'm not controlling it at all. It's just sort of happening. Or I've had stuff where my whole body will go up and down for a couple of minutes.
Amazing.
So I don't know, I just let it happen. I don't try to, figure out what it is, but there's obviously something in there that needs to be released. And I'm sure you have people have physical as well as emotional reactions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're allowing yourself just to have the experience and let your body do its thing. What those experiences are teaching me is that energy is so powerful, and that's kind of all it is. Like, so whatever sensation you're feeling in your body is just energy. And it shows up in different ways for different people. So I think I mentioned earlier, you can feel vibrations and tingling sensations through your system. And if you've ever wondered if you're actually made up of energy, you won't wonder after this anymore, because you can actually feel it pulsing through your body. The energy can show up sometimes in like a tightness or like a cramping in the hands, like a heaviness as well. And the twitching specifically, working with my teacher, he believes that it's actually literally clearing out past karmic stuff. So it's like all these like shots of like electricity and twitching going through your system. It's like, oh, okay, that's like a past life thing. It's literally like clearing out of your system. The breath is so powerful that it creates an energy flow through the system. And sometimes the energy needs to physically move the body to be able to get through that knotted energetic whatever's going on under the surface for it to then clear out. It's really amazing to watch those things.
I must have a lot of past lives because it happens all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What was going on back then?
And they say that, the more lives we've had, the more karmic debt, so the more stuff we got to clean up in this life, right?
So do you work with couples also?
I work with couples, but interestingly enough, not so much. Like I would have maybe one couple session, maybe like every 2 months. I work a lot with, like, for some reason the last few years, more and more women's been coming in, and the last 3 years it's been like young women from the ages of 15 to 21.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's been really special to see them come in, and it's, for me, I can recognize that as like my own healing transformation, as like stepping into my power as a woman myself. So the more I've been healing and clearing my own personal wounds around, being a woman in her power, I've been seeing more and more women coming for healing. So it's pretty amazing.
So do you have groups where it's just women that are coming? Or you do
I
one-on-one mostly probably right now. You're probably doing more of that just
Yeah,
with what's happening in the world, but yeah.
absolutely. I do a little bit of everything. I do lead trainings. I do have group sessions, and I have one-on-one sessions for sure. So, and I'm not specifically catering just towards women, but that just seems to be gravitating towards me. And it's amazing. We are a mirror of everything, right? So whatever shows up in front of you is a part of you. It's who you are, who you've been experienced. Like it's what you've been experiencing in your life in some form. And so I've never met a single person in my life that came for work that I couldn't relate to in some way, or could not see myself in that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, it's one-on-one sessions, but it's also group sessions, and I still do the virtual healing sessions, the group sessions in the stage too. So
So you're doing sessions on the computer.
I do, yeah. And it's funny, the whole quarantine has been an interesting experience. It's been actually super rewarding for me, because it's pushing me into doing things that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and all of a sudden I'm just forced into it.
Oh, good. I mean, I like the idea of a broader reach for the work. If you can get to people through the computer. I mean, can you imagine if this just sort of swept a bigger part of the world and people were doing this regularly? Hundreds of thousands of people would be amazing.
I mean, it's such a gift. Like I had a session a couple of weeks ago. Like I have two weekly classes now that I just stream from my home. And wow, I had, let's see, I had somebody from Canada. I had two people from Paris. I had a person from Turkey. I had somebody from Norway. I had somebody from Maryland. I had somebody from New York, and a bunch of people from LA. I was like, whoa, where are you guys coming from? It's amazing. It's such a gift.
People telling other people.
Yeah.
This is how that happens.
And I had a rule where I was like, I don't want to really have people have a breathwork session if I don't have them at least do it one time in person. And so now in this time, I'm like, all right, let's change the rule and just see how it goes, and people are having really beautiful experiences on the other side.
Yeah, well, I did a class live, and then I did one online, and then I liked them both because the energy of having people in the room was tremendous, and there was a gong, and it was just like really powerful with the sound, because the sound piece is really amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
what sound can do. And but then when I was at home, I liked it because I didn't have to drive or go anywhere afterwards, and that was great. And I use a lot of I'll just tell you my little thing that I do. I
Mm-hmm.
use this a lot of Tibetan bowls. Those sounds just work for me, because and usually there's other sounds too, like rain or the ocean or nature sounds also. So it kind of works. The sound works on a couple of levels. If you can
Mm,
focus on the rain, and then the bowl sounds sort of work on the body without you really focusing on them. They just sort of happen. And then sometimes I'll
mm,
focus on the sounds and let the nature sounds work on me. And it's really an interesting thing to feel, become aware of the different parts of the body that the different sounds affect.
mm. Ugh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
love
because
that.
sound is part of this, I think. I mean, I think it's important
Absolutely.
to have that.
Yeah, definitely. I got introduced. So I did a retreat, one of my first retreats ever with my teacher. It was in Italy, and he had like 80 people there, and beautiful. He had like translators and stuff. It was an amazing experience. And we met a teacher there that had like gongs, these amazing planetary gongs. And I've never experienced anything like it. So we do like a breathwork session, and then we'd lay down for about an hour and just have like a gong bath, and it was the most amazing experience. And then my teacher paid for them to come to LA. This was a long time ago. This was around like 2000, 2010.
Hmm.
And we get trained into doing some of these like gong baths and things like that, and then having like it was all just gongs. So it's like having like 20 gongs in the room, so you have this amazing breathwork experience. You go to your rest breath, and you just dissolve into a space of like a puddle of bliss, and your body gets so heavy that the back of your head almost starts to hurt. You just completely surrender so deeply into it, and they say that the healing experience through sound keeps working with you for about 30 days after you've had the experience.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I have had a lot of great experiences with sound. I think the combination of the two works really, really well. I saw something on I guess it was your website, or maybe it was just the synopsis you sent me. I'm sorry, I got a message on my phone.
No worries.
I got distracted there. Um, that you work with certain Lyme disease was something that you were helping people with, and is there other things that you're using the breath work for healing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have probably had not a ton. I probably had about 6 clients come in for Lyme's disease, but one in particular that kind of started me on this journey of Lyme's disease, introduced me to a little bit more information around Lyme's disease. She was bedridden at the time when I met her. I was actually traveling to Maine. One of my clients flew me out there for the summer, and I was working with a bunch of different people. And she was, I believe, 17 at the time, and depressed, and her life was kind of over. She couldn't really barely go to school, just having a really hard time. And I gave her like a breathwork session, and she felt an immediate relief, like something shifted. She felt lighter. She's like, I don't know what this is, but I want more. And so we did a bunch of sessions, and she lives in LA, which is fantastic. So we're able to work with her. I still work with her once a week. It's been now, wow, I think it's been 3 years already. But what I can say, my belief system around breath in general, is that we talked about false beliefs a little while ago. And so we create false beliefs for ourselves, where it can be anything from it's not safe for me to be intimate or to be vulnerable with somebody. And so what somebody's going to do is they're going to self-sabotage over and over and over and over again. Like, so if I'm not feeling well in my body, it's a great excuse not to be intimate. Or it can be anything from it's not my birthright to feel happy or to feel good in my body. Or it can be having no healthy boundaries. So we keep taking on from other people's like energies, and they carry other people's stuff and processing their emotions to a point where your body is beginning to break down.
Hmm.
So it just depends from person to person. And what we were doing is we were mapping out some of her belief systems and recognizing how she was overriding her body's needs and desires, very headstrong, and having no boundaries and taking on from other people. And so while we were clearing out all the energy and the disease out of her body energetically, she learned healthier boundaries, and she's vital, and she's just the cutest little thing. And it's night and day. Like, people come up to her and be like, what did you do? You look completely different. And so my belief is that disease manifests in the body through false beliefs and things like that.
When you say Lyme's disease, they say it's from what? What do they say the cause is, and then why do some people have a much stronger reaction?
Oh, that's a really good question. I believe it's from a tick. And I'm not exactly sure why some people have a stronger reaction than other people, to be quite honest.
Yeah, but it's fixable, curable, maybe not 100%, but enough where your life becomes very manageable rather than unmanageable.
Absolutely. So in a way, it's like breathwork has this ability to literally clear stuff out of your body, where you can begin to feel vitality, your body can recalibrate. We're bringing lots of oxygen to all your organs, alkaline the blood, we recalibrate the chemistry in the brain. All these amazing things happen, scientifically proven, all these things actually proven in the body. And so you just begin to make better choices for yourself around your body. You begin to feel better. You kind of fills with new life force and new energy and new vitality, and I mean, there's so many different forces, and different things involved as well. So, we talk about karma, we talk about past lives, we talk about resistances, like if somebody's super resistant to really listening to what they need to do for themselves, or are they willing to do the work? How consistent, they're doing it on a regular basis, do they forget about it? So
I've noticed, my biggest probably obstacle in life is my thinking, of course, like all of us. And my negative thinking was, I don't think it is now, was much stronger than my positive thinking. How that became, I have some ideas about it. I don't really care, but
right.
The idea that it was more negative thinking was more valid than positive thinking. Positive thinking was, to me, was seen as Pollyanna and unrealistic and not really practical. And negative thinking seemed like, well, I'm seeing things more clearly. I'm seeing beneath the surface to the negative thing but underneath the negative, there is a positive. So it's actually, I was not even going deep enough to what I think we are as energetic beings, I think, is what I sort of landed on. But I fight it all the time. I have to, not fight, it's not really the word. I have to be aware of it because it is my sort of default setting.
Right. It's like a dance between the old and the new you,
Yeah, it's a battle. Sometimes it's a battle, and sometimes I'm like, all right, that's just me being negative. Forget about that.
It's like caught in the act of being human, right?
Yeah, what's up with that?
What I can say about negativity too is that it's when we use negativity, and we all do, including myself too, it's also a really great excuse to, in a way, when we're already negative about something, we don't have to be disappointed.
Oh,
if
yeah.
we're totally positive about it, it's like, what if we're going to fail? What if it's not going to work? What if I'm not going to have it? So when you're negative, it's almost like you're rejecting an opportunity. And so it's a little safer for the mind, right? And for the ego mind. You're like, I'm just going to be negative, and then I have no expectation. I don't have to worry about anything.
Right. Then if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, I haven't lost anything.
Totally. Yeah. And so I think we use it. We also use judgment and negativity to keep our heart closed. Like if you say, for instance, you have a person in front of you and you're kind of beginning to fall in love with this person, and falling in love means like your mind is super out of control around this experience. So what are you going to do to feel safe, right? What are your mind going to do to feel safe? You're going to find something wrong. You're going to create a negativity. You're going to create a judgment in this person. Well, this person's doing this, or this is wrong, or whatever. So it's an opportunity to not completely surrender and fall in love. So you can kind of half being kind of in control of your heart.
Yeah, you're right. And it's, that vulnerability is probably the most frightening thing for, at least it is for me. I don't, I'm able to do it now, but for years, just the word would make me close off,
Yeah.
because it meant on a very visceral level, the ability to be destroyed. That's what it felt.
That's so true.
I'm like, why would I want to do that?
That sounds awful.
Right?
That's awesome. It's so true, though. It's so true. And, when our hearts are open, and it means that we have to receive. And when we are open, we are exposed, and we don't always know what is coming our way. Are we going to receive a judgment? Are we going to receive a lack of somebody there, rejection and abandonment, right? Are we going to receive a criticism or whatever else it is? And if our hearts are open, if we are open, it means that somebody gets to really see who we truly are, And so at the end of the day, we really want to be seen and heard for who we are. But as humans, we're like, oh, well, just see this part of me, but don't see this, right? We want to control what people see and not see. That vulnerability is into me, I see intimacy, right? It's like
Oh,
I
yeah.
see all of me and I accept who I am, which I will then allow somebody else to see all of me and let them accept me or not. And so it's a scary place to be, because it's like, hey, like if I really let this person see this part of me that I don't love about myself, they're not going to love it and they're going to leave. And that's no fun.
Hey, where are you going?
Yeah. But so through the breath, as the heart begins to open, which is like there's two breaths. There's a lower breath and there's a higher breath. The lower breath clears the lower chakras, and the upper breath, the breath into the chest, begins to open the heart. So when the heart begins to open, the first thing that happens, it floods all the sadness and all the wounds and all the grief that we haven't actually felt yet. So a lot of times when the heart opens, there's some sadness, and on the other side, joy. And so when the heart starts to open, you get to feel legally high. You get to feel the love inside of yourself. You get to feel the joy. You also get to really feel a deeper knowing of who you truly are, your worth. Like it's not a mind thing, like I am worth this much. It's like a knowing, as a feeling. So when we close our heart off with the desire to protect ourselves, we also disconnect from our joy, from self-love, from our worth, like a deeper feeling of who we are. And then what we do is we want other people to tell us, like, hey, love me. Hey, am I valuable? So we're putting our power out in the world so that other people can give that to us. And so then we feel powerless. So the breath kind of helps you to open your heart again so you can remember who you are, so you don't need it so much on the outside.
And when people say remember who you are, which I always like that, and that is beyond character, it's beyond personality, it's beyond anything on the sort of social, societal kind of a thing. It's a feeling of being of that is, there's no really words for it. That's why it's hard to talk about.
That's what is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it has nothing to do with any of the things that we think of as who is that person, which means what do they look like, what do they do,
Mm-hmm.
are they nice to people? No, it's beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there's a saying of like we are what we do, right? Our identity is so wrapped up in what we do, or the car we drive, or the house we live in. And hey, there's nothing wrong with like having a beautiful life and having a beautiful car and things like that, as long as we don't wrap our identity into that, because hey, that stuff's all like temporary and it can be taken away any moment. And talking about this time that we're in right now, the planet Pluto in astrology is breaking down all the structures in the world right now. And what that means is like we can't like ground into something on the outside that makes us feel familiar or safe, or we can't put our identity into anything on the outside because it literally does not exist anymore. So what this planet is trying to do is it's trying to teach us how to find it on the inside, how to ground into that deeper knowing of like just a knowing of who you are, ground into consciousness, ground into your intuition, and ground into like a community of like-minded beings, that are like you as well. I feel like that's the support system we're really looking for that can never be taken away from you.
Yeah, it can't be taken away because it's, because no one can even see it to take it away.
Exactly.
They might be able to feel it, and they might be threatened by it if they can even know what's going on.
Absolutely.
But yeah. What other disciplines have you done? I know you told me you started with yoga and that you do a few other things. So let's talk about that, and then we're going to talk about your website so people can find you.
Yay. Let's see. So I moved to Los Angeles in the year 2000, and I moved out here with a guy. And I realized very quickly within the first few months that I was kind of losing myself in this relationship and also into this big country. And so I was starting to search for modalities and for all kinds of different things I can kind of be me, be my own thing just for myself, but also bring me back to myself. So I was this big seeker and wanderer. So I kind of started with Qigong, medical Qigong for a while, actually. I did that for maybe a couple of years, which was a beautiful practice for me at the time too. And I started feeling energy through my body. I was like, oh, wow, what is this? Like, I want to know more about this. It was a little bit too slow for me because my background is kind of like an athlete and I like to do things faster and I want to just feel a lot of physical stuff through my body. So I started pursuing yoga. But the interesting thing is when I got to yoga, it felt like it was also a little too long. It was like a 90-minute class, and why are people laying down on their backs for 5 minutes at the end of class? And this thing called shavasana, like my life's waiting. I want to just get out and go. So I literally came from a background of not really knowing how to slow down and just wanting to go, 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 go. And then I tried yoga again with a few different teachers and just walked into a teacher's class one day and just totally fell in love with yoga. It's almost like I just caught it. It was the right intensity. It was fun. I was falling out of poses and laughing at myself, so it felt athletic and strong. There was breath. I felt energy moving through my body. And so a couple of years after that, I took my first training with Saul David Ray. It was like in 2005. This incredible yoga teacher, guru, like he's a musician. He does a lot of kirtan and like chanting and bhakti. I got into that for a couple of years, and then I kind of moved into Yoga Works, and I studied through Yoga Works, Annie Carpenter and Sonia Cottle, and kind of like moving in that direction where it was more alignment based and more structure. So yeah, I've been teaching yoga for, gosh, I want to say, my first training was 2005, but I really only started like maybe 2007. So I've been teaching for a while, and I really like a strong, like a vinyasa flow where the body gets to move with some fun music. What I've learned for myself and a lot of human beings that are like me too, that it's hard to slow down and have super active minds, is that doing something active first to connect with the body, to then get to a point of quiet, is easier. And that's why when I dropped into breathwork in 2010, I was like, this is perfect because it's an active breath. I still teach yoga. I'm teaching a weekly yin class once we're back out in the world again, Yoga Works Main Street, and the occasional flow class as well. So, but my time is spent mostly through breathwork because I'm totally obsessed with it.
Great.
It's a good obsession to have.
Yeah, it really is a nice, healthy obsession.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how people can find you if they want to get some classes, some either yoga or breath work or healing of any kind that you might do.
Absolutely. So I have a website. It is my name. So it's marlizejoubert.com. And I can give you the spelling, or I'm sure that you'll probably have a write-up later on for the spelling.
I will, but go ahead and spell it, because some people don't read. They're auditory learners.
I like that. Okay. It's like me too, actually, too. So the same way. So it's spelled Marlize as in zebra E. So that's my first name. My last name is Joubert, B as in boy, ERT as in Tom.
Okay.
.com. MarlizeJoubert.com. It's a French last name. I'm South African. I don't speak French. I wish. So on the website, you'll find an opportunity to connect with me via like one-on-one healing sessions. There's a little write-up about that. You'll find a whole page around all the trainings that I lead. I have like 3 different modules of breathwork trainings. And then you can also find me for all my group classes. I currently teach at Unplugged Meditation in Santa Monica. So we do live streaming classes. And then I also have my own classes that I just stream from home. And then once we're out in the world, you'll be able to see me in person.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's
for a big hug.
There's lots of ways to do classes with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And everybody who's listening, this is Marlize Joubert, MarlizeJoubert.com. You'll get a lot of information there. Wonderful person, wonderful interview. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you again so much, Bob. It was so much fun. It kind of reminds me why I do this work in the first place. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right. I enjoyed that interview. She was a wonderful guest. And I look forward to possibly, certainly meeting her in person, possibly taking some training, some breathwork training. I'm fascinated with that work. So that might be something down the road in the future to learn a little bit more about it. And I'm looking forward to that. And thank you guys for listening in to the show. Again, check out my website, theexplodinghuman.com, and please hit the donate button if you want to support the show, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you feel like doing that. That would be great. That is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Add the with Bob Nickman, and that's on YouTube. Much appreciation for all your support out there, and thanks so much. We'll see you again.